Hello everyone, good afternoon. It's Mary Bush here with Stampin' in the Sand, and I am coming on live a day later than I wanted to because yesterday's storm was just awful. So I thought I was going to be able to come on and do this class for you yesterday. I thought, perfect timing to do some stamping and do a class during a storm, but no. As you could see by the pictures, I was dealing with flooding and vacuuming water out of my garage and getting soaked and doing a lot of praying for my house and my yard. But luckily today, the sun is shining, the water is receding, and we made out a lot better than some people. There was actually a tornado up in Myrtle Beach. My neighbor out by my farm thought they had a mini tornado out there. I was going to go to my farm today and check on it, but I can't get there because the road that I take out of town is flooded. So I'm not risking it. I'm not risking driving through floodwaters to go out and check my farm. So I'm going to cross my fingers that my camper is still standing and maybe I can get out there tomorrow. So instead, we can do some stamping this afternoon. So I've been posting about my Rings of Love Creative Escape class to go. The registration was closing yesterday, but because of the storm, I'm playing catch up with trying to process the orders and the add-ons to the classes and get my order put in into the Stampin' Up system. So I'm leaving it open through the rest of today, and I'll place that order with Stampin' Up tomorrow morning for all of the add-ons and all of the trims and embellishments and things that are going to be going out with the class packs. So my Rings of Love Creative Escape class to go features the retired Rings of Love Designer Series paper. And I found a whole stash of this paper in my stash and decided it should be shared instead of hoarded. And I'm really loving this paper. It's got all sorts of beautiful images for all the seasons. So we have our lovely florals. We've got some of our fall acorns and leaves, our beautiful songbirds. There's a watercolor wash on the back of this one. The houses, which is great for new homes, people that have bought a new home, or people that are moving into your neighborhood, or just any kind of general card. I've seen it used on anniversary cards, all sorts of stuff. On the back is a really beautiful, what do you call that? Like a filigree? No, a medallion. And then we have our mushrooms and leaves. On this one, we have the tree rings on the back and our poinsettias, which you can use these not only for Christmas cards, but winter birthdays. And on the back of that is just a neutral tree pattern. So if you don't have this paper in your own stash, you might be interested in participating in my class to go, because with the class, everyone's going to receive half a pack of this paper. And I have enough to go around, so be sure to register soon so that you can get yours in the mail. If you do have a stack of this paper in your own stash, I am offering a tutorial only, and that's a full color PDF tutorial. It comes with the supply list and step-by-step instructions for each of the 4 projects that we will be creating in the class. So I thought it would be fun today to create a card based on one of the cards that are featured in the class. So it's not exactly the class card, because I wouldn't do that. The class cards are always a surprise, but it's based on one of the cards. So you can adapt the projects that are in the class actually for any designer series paper you have, and change up the sentiments and pair it with some different stamp sets that you might already have in your collection and be good to go. So this Rings of Love Designer Series paper, it actually was created to pair with the Ringed with Nature stamp set, which is still in our annual catalog. It's current. And, sorry, I have to dig through a mess here. The Tree Rings Hybrid Embossing Folder. And if you're not familiar with our hybrid embossing folders, it's a embossing folder that pairs with or coordinates with, is bundled with a die set. So you'd actually emboss your cardstock, and then you can cut out the tree rings with the dies and layer them. And then there's also, in this set of dies, there's also build an acorn, build a mushroom, and some stems with berries. So if you don't have this one, if you don't have this in your collection, it is available as an add-on to the class. And I'm also pairing it with the Biggest Wish stamp set. I love this one because of the bold images or the bold fonts that you get with your thanks, birthday, happy, hello, and friend, and the coordinating scripty font. So I really liked this one. And also currently we have the More Wishes in the same style with the Christmas and New Year's messages as well. So these are very complementary to each other, and you could actually, if you ordered your Rings of Love class to go, you could actually, if you have the More Wishes, you could adapt some of the projects with this stamp set too. Okay. Also in the class to go, we're using the Leaf Fall embossing folder. And if you don't have that in your stash or in your collection, it's also available as an add-on to the class to go. And today, not in the class to go, but today, I'm also pairing it with the Cheerful Daisies stamp set. I'm going to use some of the floral images in here to coordinate with the designer series paper. So let's bring in our bits and get started. Let me see if I have a place to put that. So the first one we're going to create is going to be using this floral pattern. And I've already pre-cut some of my layers here so that I'm kind of prepared ahead of time. I've also done some stamping already, and I've pre-stamped the birthday, and that's from the Biggest Wish. Okay, so that's the birthday from the Biggest Wish. I've pre-stamped it in Poppy Parade, and I set it aside so it could dry because I just re-inked my ink pad. So when I stamped this, it was very wet, and I was so afraid that during a live, I'd put my finger through it and smear it. So I let that do some drying ahead of time. All right, so I have a Petal Pink card base here, and this measures 8.5 by 5.5. I scored it in half at 4 1/4 to make a top fold card. Next, I have a layer of Poppy Parade, and it's 1/8 of an inch smaller. So what is that? 4 1/8. 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. Yep, by 5 3/8. And I'm just going to adhere these pieces together. And I'm going to do it flat. So I'm just going to use my Stampin' Seal Plus. You could also use liquid glue if you want to. But I find that sometimes the liquid glue with the designer series paper, if I go too heavy-handed, I end up making ripples. So I'm only going to put the adhesive around the outside edges, because to conserve cardstock and make the card a little bit lighter when it's mailed, I die cut one of the coordinating, this exact die. I die cut it from this paper, and I'll just use it on another project. So, and I only did that so it would just be a little bit lighter. I do sell my cards in a retail store, and so I want the folks that are buying the cards in the store to not have to worry about having their cards too bulky or requiring extra postage, because if they're not stampers, they may not even know that that's a thing. All right, so now I'm going to take this layer. I'm going to stand up for a second, and I'm going to get this lined up. And I'm getting shadows. So sorry, took me a second. Okay, so I've got that. So there's on the front of my card. Then I'm going to take my pre-cut die, and somewhere I had the package for this so I could show you. Okay, so this is the Scallop Contours dies, and I'm using the second from smallest. So I think that's third largest. Second from smallest die, and I've cut that from basic white. And then, like I said, I just stamped my birthday in the Poppy Parade down in the bottom right-hand corner. Then I'm gonna come in with the Scripty Happy and some Blueberry Bushel and stamp that. And one thing that I discussed when I was promoting my class to go is that a lot of the colors we're going to be using in the class are new colors. They're either new core colors or new in colors. So they're not actually listed on the back of the designer series paper because when the paper came out, they weren't even a color. So I've been able to update this designer series paper with some new colors. So I thought that was kind of fun. I love the way when Stampin' Up! Creates some of these watercolor florals and images that there's so many different gradients of color that you can really match them with anything, current or retired. You just have to go digging. All right, so now I have my happy and my birthday, and I'm gonna pull in Cheerful Daisies, and I'm gonna pick this small cluster of daisies here, and I'm going to do them in the Poppy Parade. So I'm just gonna ink that up and stamp that in the upper left-hand corner. And move my ink pad because I have a tendency to make a mess. So there are my flowers. Then I'm going to take a Daffodil Delight dark Stampin' blend, and I'm just going to add a little bit of color. And I'll put that on here in case it bleeds through. I'm just going to add a little bit of yellow to the insides of the flowers, just a little touch. And then I'm going to come back and I want to add some leaves. And I was playing around with the different style of leaves, and I'll show you those at the end because there are leaves in the Cheerful Daisies, but I wasn't really keen on how they ended up coming out in the stamp. So I went digging, and believe it or not, I found a leaf image here which actually came from the Birds and Branches stamp set. And this one is retired, but it just goes to show you if you go searching around in some of your older stamp sets, you might actually find something that coordinates just as well with your current images and perhaps even slightly better. So I'm gonna come in with Lemon Lime Twist, and I'm using Lemon Lime Twist because that's actually one of the colors in the designer series paper. And I'm going to ink my leaves, but I have to think about how I did it. I think I used this little cluster here. So I'm only gonna selectively ink those leaves. So I'm not inking up these larger leaves here, just the smaller ones. And actually, I think I should have a piece of scrap paper under there. I always keep a pile of scrap paper handy, so that if I stamp off of my die cut, it's not going to get on my foam mat. Okay, so I'm gonna just start taking these little leaves, and I'll just randomly stamp around the flowers. And I think they pair well together, don't you? I like these little leaves. I think they're cute. Okay. So there's a scattering of leaves for my flower. And then I'm going to take some adhesive, and I'm just going to put down a little bit here in the corner. And I've got a length already of the, what is this called? It's the white ribbon with the sparkle in it. It's an online exclusive. Let me see if I can find the roll. I put it away. Okay, it's called, it just says white. Glittered Organdy ribbon. It's an online exclusive. And I've tied it in a bow already. And I'm going to set that down in the lower left corner. And then I'm going to take Stampin' Dimensionals. And I'm just going to add a few to the back. Like so. And I'm going to put one there. And then I'm going to come down with a mini. And I'm going to tuck it up in there. So that's going to support that corner. And these two will hold that ribbon more, in place well, so it doesn't have a tendency to move. I don't think it will because I use Stampin' Seal Plus, but you never know. All right, so we can move this, and I'm going to take this in, and I'm just going to place it on the front of the card. Again, I'm going to have to stand up to do this. And I'm going to try to get it as centered as I can. So there's that. I wasn't sure I was going to like this ribbon with it, but I kind of do. And I'm probably going to trim that end off, maybe just a little snip. Okay, then where are my sequins? Then I've got the pastel adhesive backed sequins. And I'm going to use the gold. My package is kind of falling apart. All right, so I'm going to use some sequins. And I had a sample I was working off of. So I'm going to take one of these large ones and place it down here in the corner. And then I'm going to take a little itty bitty one and I'm going to place it there. And then I guess I'll do another one up there. So there's that. There's some sequins. And then I need to do the inside of my card. And I forgot to mention the designer series paper I cut by 4 inches by 5 1/4. So when you have your 12-inch length and you do your 4 by 5 1/4 and 4 by 5 1/4, you end up with 1.5 inches left over by 4 inches. So I'm going to use that on the inside. So I have a piece of basic white for the inside of my card. And then I took my piece of designer series paper that was left over and cut it in half. So I ended up with 2 3/4 by 4 inch strips. And I can now use that on the inside of my card. So cutting it that way, you get 2 cards, 2 full cards, completed cards out of your 1 strip of 4 by 12 paper, if that makes sense. Okay, so we're going to put that down there, and I see I have a little bit extra. I need my snips. Hold, please. You always think you're prepared. So there's a little tiny bit hanging off the edge. So I'm just going to snip that off. And I think there's some adhesive or something on my snips. I didn't get a good cut. Okay, and then I'm just going to run this across the top and attach this to the inside of my card, standing up again so I can get a good border. It's hard for me to do that sitting down. Okay, so there's the inside, there's the outside, and then we never mail a naked envelope, right? And whenever I stamp my envelopes, I always put a piece of scrap cardstock on the inside so that it doesn't, whatever I stamp, and especially when I'm using blends, it doesn't bleed to the back of the envelope. So I'll put that there, and then I'm going to come back with my flowers. And if you don't want to use the designer series paper strip on the inside of the card, and you just want to stamp a coordinating image on the inside of your card, then this is what you could do. You could just tie the card together, front, back, and envelope, by using these same images on the inside of the card and the outside and the envelope. So I'm just gonna get this inked up. I caught a little bit of ink on that. So then we'll just come around with our same image and add a little bit of greenery. Oh, I feel a sneeze coming on. I hope it goes away. Okay, so there's that. And then close the ink pad. And again, I'm just going to add a little bit of this yellow to the stamped image on the envelope. So what do you think of that? Is that pretty? Isn't that pretty? I just think that came out so pretty. So I hope you like that. And okay, so there's your card and your coordinating envelope. And again, like I said, if you didn't want to do the designer series paper strip on the inside, you could just stamp this flower image and your leaves on the inside panel and it would all tie together. But I still think that looks really cute. So there you go, there's that one. And I have one more for you. So this time we are using the birds, the pretty birds from that same designer series paper. And this time I'm pairing it with boho blue, which was not a color back in the day of this paper. And this time I have cut it, oh, you know what? I might have given you the wrong measurements. This is 4 by 5 1/4. Let me measure this one again. Let me make sure this is 4 by 5 1/4. It is. Okay, so the floral paper was 4 by 5 1/4. I just matted it. This paper is 4 by 5 1/4, but we are not going to mat it. So we're just going to adhere this straight down to the card front without the border. I almost confused myself. That's what I get for not writing myself a sticky note with my notes on it. And now I can't see where my adhesive is. Okay, so we're just going to take this and we're going to adhere it to the front of the card. Just like so. And then I've already stamped my happy and my birthday, again, because my boho blue is a brand new ink pad. It's super juicy and it took a while to dry. I was actually surprised. And then I need the card that we just made and I tucked aside because I need my little scrap paper for my envelope. So this time I'm actually going to use the flower, if I can find the stamp set. I'm actually going to use the little flowers here from Ringed with Nature. And that's the stamp set that coordinates with the designer series paper. And we are going to stamp that in boho blue. Ooh, this is not the envelope I needed. I needed a naked envelope. That envelope is not naked. I'm gonna have to get another envelope. All right, so this time we're going to ink up our flower in boho blue. And we're going to stamp that just like we did with the other flower in the upper left-hand corner. And we're gonna take a second for that to dry. And I hate when I get up during a video, but I need another envelope. Somehow I managed to bring over an envelope that was already stamped on. And I know why I did it, but I didn't want to do it. Okay, then we're gonna bring in our scrap paper again. And I'm gonna pull the little card out of that because I need it for this. I'm going to save some time, and I'm gonna stamp my envelope with the flowers down in the corner. And that did not stamp well, so we're gonna have to cover that with a leaf. And because this is the envelope, I'm gonna go kind of around the corner because this image is a lot smaller than the one that we used for the red card. And now I'm going to have to kind of hide that blotchy one. So we're going to come back in with our lemon lime twist. And we're going to come back in with our leaves. And we're going to just do the same exact thing that we did on the red card. So we'll do some leaves on our envelope. Just do some selective inking. And let's see if I can, there. So now you can't really tell that that flower was not stamped so good. So there's our envelope. Then we can come back in with our die cut and do some more inking up of our leaves. Stamp it in the corner. And okay, so there's that. And I might go in there. I don't know if I can. I'm not going to bother. I would try to put some leaves in there, but I know, seeing as I'm live, I'll mess it up. So we're going to quit while we're ahead. But if I had planned better, I probably would have put some leaves in there. But it's okay. No one's going to know. Then I'm going to come back in with my daffodil blend, and I'm just going to dot some of the yellow in here. And the reason I'm doing that is just to tie in with the yellow from the birds, excuse me, in the designer series paper. And then on this one, I'm gonna just add the little strip, and I'm gonna actually use some of my retired ribbon. This is the crinkled seam binding. Do you remember this ribbon? And you can really use any white ribbon that you have in your stash. So where I'm tying in this retired paper with some of our oldies but goodies ribbons and embellishments and some current stamp sets. It just goes to show you that you can, I'm making this way too long, that you can really give new life to all sorts of things from your stash just by gathering together different bits and pieces. I'm never going to get this the way that I want it, so I'm going to just give up. Just going to give up. It's just a little longer than I wanted it. I don't like wasting even an inch of ribbon, but I'm not going to sit here all day trying to get the perfect bow. You don't want to watch it, and I don't want to do it either. All right, so back to our dimensionals. Add the dimensionals to the card. And I think I actually left enough room to do a big dimensional down here in the corner. Pull that out a bit. And I did. So there's the dimensionals. Let's pick off all these little bits and pieces. Get this out of the way. And bring back in our card. And we're going to place that, again, it's going to be as centered as we can. But I want to go up a little higher because it's kind of sitting on that poor bird's head. I don't want to cover his head. Okay. And then I'll just snip some of this ribbon off. I want it to kind of lay a little bit past the outer edges of the card, but it doesn't have to be that long. Okay, so there's that. And then I'm going to bring in the 2023-25 in colored dots. And we're going to add these to the front of this card to tie in all our colors together. So we've got one of the big ones. This is a medium. I'm all out of smalls. And that's a medium up there. Oops, he didn't come off though. Come on, stick. All right, so there is that one. And on the inside of this card, I've already added, remember how I told you if you do the 5 1/4, 4 by 5 1/4, 4 by 5 1/4 out of your strip of designer series paper, you get a 1.5 inch strip. Well, with this pattern, instead of cutting it in half at the 3/4, like I did with the red one, well, the floral one, I left it at the full 1.5 because of the birds. Because if I had cut it down, it would have cut faces in half, and that would have driven me nuts. So I ended up just leaving the whole 1.5 inch wide strip for the inside of my card, and I thought it tied in well, as opposed to, say, stamping the flowers, which I will have to do on my next card using this paper, because now I've used the whole 1.5 inch strip on this card. But I just wanted to show you a different option for using that extra strip. So there's that one. And we've done our envelope. So now we have our 2 cards. We have our birds with the blue flowers from the Ringed with Nature stamp set, and that's the little flowers down here. And then we have our red card, our Puppy Parade card, which is the exact same design, but we tied in the flowers from Cheerful Daisies. So there's 2 different options for you. Then on this one, I used that glittered organdy ribbon. And on this card, I just used a nice seam binding ribbon. Now, if you do decide that you want to purchase the class, I'm leaving registration open until this evening or when I sell out of class kits. And again, you're going to get half a pack of this gorgeous paper, the Ringed with Love Designer Series paper, and it makes a ton of cards. So we're going to be creating 4 different cards. We're going to do 2 each of 4 different designs. This is just a handful of the cards that I've already made using my half a pack of Designer Series paper. Then these 2. Then I also created a couple of different versions of each. So on this card that we just created with the blossoms from Ringed with Nature, when I created these cards, I actually went back to the, where'd it go? The birds, birds and branches. And I used this short little branch here. And then the leaves are what we just used on our flowers. And I made branches on these cards instead of the flowers. So I don't know if you have a preference, but it's another option for you. And then on the inside of this one, I used that strip. On the envelope, I did a coordinating branch. And then on this card, because these came off the same strip of paper, on the inside, I just stamped another branch. And then on the coordinating envelope, I did a branch. Then for this card, because when I tell you that I can't stop creating with something, I am not joking. I was obsessed. You should see the stack of little cards I have. I created this card, which I really love. I love this one. It's the exact same design, exact same layout as this, except I used that seam binding ribbon again, and I used Puppy Parade and Old Olive for leaves, and I used the Retired Painted Petals stamp set and used the 2 roses and the leaves from that set. So when folks were asking me what stamp sets they'd absolutely have to coordinate with this paper, I basically was not joking when I told them you can pretty much use anything in your collection. For this card, I actually used Blossoms from Petal Park, which is in our catalog, currently in our catalog. And I did the line art images here, and then I colored them with Puppy Parade Stampin' Blends. And on the inside, I used one of those little strips. And I did not do the envelope yet. I have to do the envelope. And what else? I thought I had another one. I guess I didn't. But I'm not kidding. I mean, look at all the pieces that I've already done because I still have more paper. So it just goes to show you that when you have paper like this, you can really pull anything into it. You can create any kind of floral design that you have with this, say this pattern of designer series paper. And then with the birds, you can pull in your branches. You can, if you have a bird stamp, you could use a bird stamp, but the flowers look okay too. You just have to play around with it. And it's really all about pairing the colors. All right, I think that's it. Thank you for joining me. If you watched through the whole thing, thank you very much for joining me for our cards. I hope you enjoy the projects. I hope you will be interested in joining us for our Rings of Love class to go. Again, if you have a stack of this paper in your collection and you only need the PDF is available. And if you are here, if you're on my Facebook page, you can go straight to the event that I created for this. It says the event is closed, but the links are still working. Otherwise, if you have any issue, you can just message me and I'll send you the link directly. And also too, if you're looking for some holiday stamp therapy, because Christmas is coming up, I do still have PDFs available for my 4 Seasons Garden Meadow Creative Escape class to go. This one, again, we created 2 each of 4 different card designs, and it's a full color step-by-step instructions. So you have your supply list and you have all of your step-by-step instructions, and you do not have all that scratch in yours. This is my working copy. So all my notes are written in the margins. You won't have that. You'll have a nice clear copy. So I guess that's it for me today. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. And if you have any questions or if you need any links to any of these, the 4 Seasons Garden Meadow Creative Escape PDF or the Rings of Love class to go, the full class or the PDF, let me know. And I look forward to stamping with you again soon. Thanks, everybody. Bye.